Hey guys, today I'm going to take it way back to talk about an interesting record by none other than the original Cold Crush Brothers. And this is a record from 1983, the punk rock rap, on Tuff City/CBS Records, which in itself is interesting because CBS Records is a major label. You know, like David Letterman is on CBS, that's CBS. And so this was a pretty unheard of, especially for way back in 1983, major label/indie label collaboration. You did have hip-hop on major labels. I mean, Curtis Blow being the star of that since 1980, even 1979, with Mercury Polygram. But most hip-hop was independent, and certainly they weren't really done jointly together until basically this record right here, the punk rock rap. And not only is it a bizarre sort of combination of disparate labels, but it's a weird combination of disparate genres of music. Just the title alone pretty much tells you the story, punk rock rap. All of you have heard this before. Probably the first thought that came into your mind was, what does this really have to do with punk rock? Except for this little opening skit where a guy speaks in a British accent. There's really nothing punk rock about this song at all. In fact, it really sounds like they're taking the piss out of punk rap. It's completely like the antithesis of punk rock. It's so, like milquetoast and soft, and, the music is like xylophones and dink-a-dink-a-dink. I mean, this is what I think of when I think of punk rock. Right? And this is what the Cold Crush Brothers give us. I mean, these could not be on more opposite ends of the spectrum. That confusion stems from the fact that that's just one version on the 12-inch single. It's the one that's best known, it's the one that's most proliferated, because mainly it was featured on this album from the 90s, Cold Crush Brothers, the complete studio recordings on Tuff City Records. Complete, they do a fairly good job of being completist. I mean, it's not complete, considering they had a whole album on B-Boy Records and several other later singles that are not on here. But they do a good job of compiling all of their sort of early singles when they were best known as the Cold Crush Brothers, the full crew, the lineup that everybody knows the best. And they even include an early Grandmaster Caz solo 12-inch and one or two songs that were essentially unreleased at the time. So it was a pretty nice album. And this is what put it out on CD. I mean, before, basically, this was a not rare, it was on CBS Records, but, in the 80s and 90s, how many kids had 12-inch singles, So for a song to really live on, it had to be included on compilations and CDs, and this is the one that really broke it out. And this one just includes one version of the song that I played for you. Now, if you actually look at the track listing on the single, they call it the Punk Rock Rap Mega Mix. Now, I don't know what's up with that. It's really just the Punk Rock Rap Punk Rap Mix from the 12-inch single. But the first song on the 12-inch single is probably considered the main one. So the one that comes up first is the one that at the time would have been the best known, the Punk Rock Mix. And when you listen to that, you can tell more what they were thinking. I mean, at least those electric guitar stuff in there is kind of punk rockish. I mean, it's punk rock in the sense that, Cyndi Lauper was punk rock as opposed to, this stuff. But still, at least it's essentially punk rock. Now, that might have been punk like Punky Brewster was punk, but at least you understood what they were going for. And when you listen to the punk rap mix, the main one, you're like, what were they thinking? There's nothing remotely associatable with punk rock to this at all. Now, if I'm going to talk about the single, one other thing I have to address absolutely is the intro. There's a little spoken word intro where there's a knock on the door. The punk rock guy with the British accent says, "Oh, go get the door." His girlfriend gets the door. She's like, "Oh my God, it's the Cold Crush." And that sample, yes, is the infamous "Oh my God" sample that Marley Marl used constantly on so many records, that the Get Fresh crew used on the show, that just about every DJ ever has scratched up at some point in time in their career. That "Oh my God," this is the record it comes from. Now, I'm only playing new clips here, of course, but one thing you'd notice if you listen to either version all the way through is that the Cold Crush Brothers never actually rap here, despite it being called the punk rock rap. There is no rap. Their voices are on here. They're doing hooks and choruses, and they're doing some little kind of harmonizing kind of stuff, which after all is what they're known for just as much as they're emceeing, but they never actually rap on this record, except for until you get to the B-side, the Party Mix. And here there's sort of some rapping on here, or there's definitely some rapping on here. Their voices are distorted. They're kind of using a little bit of a vocoder thing, although not, they do it more to like kind of bassen up their voices and make it a little bit more electronic. Not the typical vocoder voice you think of like Houdini, but that kind of effect. And they do a little bit of rapping. They do some naming, shouting out some cities and stuff. And the instrumental is much more broken down. It's almost like a dub mix. But at least there is the token rap, because there is absolutely no rapping on here. And that is the absolutely most disappointing aspect of this single, because it's a fun single. The instrumental is, crazy and jingly as opposed to punk rock, but it's dope, it's fresh, it's fun, it's very lighthearted, but that's fine. It's got a lot of cool little numbers and, choruses and stuff. But no rapping really sinks it. And even the Party Mix, it finally gives you some rapping, but it really is nothing to sink your teeth into. You're just waiting the whole song for Grandmaster Caz to bust some wild story about punk rockers meeting hip-hoppers or something, or JDL to lay down the law about the differences between rock and rap, and it just never happens. They never rap. And it's all the more disappointing when you consider just how small the Cold Crush Brothers catalog is. These guys have been around since the very beginning, or, like before hip-hop was on wax. The Cold Crush Brothers were one of the most famous acts. They were there when, like when Kool Moe Dee battled Busy Bee, they were one of the other acts. And frankly, they would have won had Kool Moe Dee not suddenly done this incredible game-changing verse. And the famous battles with the Fantastic Five, like these were just the dudes, but they were just late to get into the making records game. Their first 12-inch was in 1982, I think, The Weeknd. And sadly, their whole catalog could basically be fit on this one CD, and this includes unreleased stuff, a Caz solo stuff, an instrumental version that's not credited. It's, sort of a messy CD. So there's actually only like 4 or 5 songs that you would really call proper official Cold Crush Brothers records until you get to their later stuff with B-Boy Records. But by then, half the members had left, and it's sort of a whole different thing. It was like a new modern twist on the Cold Crush Brothers, which I don't write off. They still did a lot of dope material. In fact, Grandmaster Caz did some fantastic solo material on Tough City Records. But just them as a crew, the lineup that you think of, the Cold Crush Brothers, did so very few songs. And then one of their key songs doesn't even feature any rapping. Disappointing. But still, there it is. Not a bad record. But still more of a curiosity than a classic. It's a fun record. It's an interesting record. But really, if you really want to go to Cold Crush Brothers, I would recommend Heartbreakers. I think it's probably their best single. Fresh Wild Flying Bold is dope, of course. That's one of their better known ones. But really, they just never had the recording career they should have had. I guess it went to the Sugar Hill Gang and Big Bang Hank. But still, if you're a hardcore head, you probably want this in your collection, if only for the, oh my god. So, till next time, thanks for watching.